If you are a human who is alive, you have at some point during your youth, which according to my analytics data should be right about now, heard some variation of the following sentence. Ah, to feel young and invincible. Me, having chosen not one but two quite dangerous career paths, have heard this sentence very often, most often from people who were trying to tell me that I was stupid, which, you know, joke's kind of on them now. But at the time, I always thought to myself, wait, this shit gets worse? Because I have never felt young and invincible. I'm 25. Most of the time I feel like an 80-year-old who has done nothing with his life and is about to face the eternal unness. And I feel about as invincible as a rickety bicycle that's going head first into a high-speed train charging at it. I couldn't feel older or more vincible if I tried. And as I've talked to people my age about this, they've kind of described the very same things. This assumption that older people have, that just being young gives you a kind of weird confidence that you can achieve all of your dreams and you will take insane risks and just get away with it because you are young and invincible. I do know some people like that, though not all of them are young, but all of them have at least an upper middle class background, or higher, economically speaking. But most millennials and Gen Zers that I know are just clinging on to the illusion of something that might have at a point in the past given them some level of happiness when the world wasn't such a terrible place in their daily unforgiving grind. Or they've just completely given up on all ambition and become careless nihilists trying to wrest at least a little piece of enjoyment from this wretched existence. And I have to ask, is this just what being young was like? Did it just feel good? Because I don't feel good, and I really would like to. I mean, yeah, boomers and many Gen Xers did grow up in a radically different world. There used to be a lot simpler political causes where you could just legislate the problems away. You could intellectually, at least, they were clear-cut. There was one side that was right and one side that was wrong. Racism, segregation, apartheid, bad. Very easy to fall on the right side of that, except if you have, like, loved ones that think otherwise who might ostracize you. Intellectually, not a problem. And yes, climate change, also, morally speaking, very simple. It's bad, but it is also a lot more nuanced and complicated. Getting rid of the oppressive systems that the minorities lived under the boot of, nobody was hurt by that, even if idiots at the time thought that this might be otherwise. But if you fight climate change, a huge number of ways where you fight climate change, hundreds of millions of people lose their livelihood. It's not that easy. It was a good fight for something that was righteous against a system that could be beaten. But today, where the enemy isn't conservative values that are slowly dying as people get older, but ultra-powerful business interests that are as incestuously intertwined with politics as an Alabama family wreath? No such luck! And as horrendous as segregation and apartheid and all of those horrible racist things were, if we fail at our generational quest line, it's literally the end of the world. That is what our stakes are. We're not fighting for something good wherein we can enact positive change in the world. We're just fighting to not die. And because of those precise, powerful business interests and neoliberal policies that yesteryear's young and invincible people put into place, very few of us have any kind of perspective in life. We work our asses off. We attain previously unmet levels of fucking education, but we get nothing for it. We can't even support ourselves with the kind of work that used to get you to buy a house and a second car in a few short years. We're never gonna be able to retire. I mean, Gen X already is barely able to retire, where the first ones are now going in there. They don't have any money. Wealth has increased massively at the top. Wages haven't risen almost at all for decades. We look ahead in our lives and all we see is desperation. But most of all, we know that if something bad that is outside of our control happened to us right now, we'd be destroyed by it. And the assumption of feeling young and invincible seems to be, that when you're young, you just don't know that bad things happen. That is what I gather from my conversations with the kind of people that tell me this. And it's like, I am aware that bad things happen. As a matter of fact, I am so acutely aware of this that it literally just gives me anxiety every day. Which isn't a surprise either, really. A childhood weekend for the average boomer consisted of tricking the town pedophile into giving them candy by jumping out of the car fast enough, then biking to the rock quarry outside of town to throw stones at the heavy machinery and each other as they saw fit, and then at some point late in the evening, they came home to parents who hadn't heard from them in 10 hours. Young millennials were told that if we go into the forest and accidentally brush up against something green, we will just die immediately. Come to think of it, I do remember a time where I felt young and invincible, and it was when I was 8. Are you telling me that you held off on the realization that the world can be a horrible and dangerous place until well into your 20s? How did you do that? How are you alive still? I think a lot of millennials could use some of that excess confidence that you had lying around, because then, you know, we wouldn't be held back by ourselves. Instead, so many of us just cling to the things that we have simply because they are familiar to us, even if they are ultimately very bad for us. Simply because if we look at tomorrow, we are conditioned to see nothing but horror. This is part of the reason why people stay home until their 30s playing video games. It's not that they enjoy being lazy, they could have gratifying experiences in the world if they just went out there. But if they look out there, it's scary and very unfamiliar, so they stay where they are, because making these new experiences and deviating from what they know is always bad. And if you look at the economic situation, really, they're not wrong. But especially we as an age group, and our adjacent age group, our larger generation as such, need to be able to take risks, because the problems that we face as individuals and as groups are not going to go away if we simply do the same shit we've always done. We need to find new solutions to unprecedented problems, and for that we need to be able to dare, which frankly a lot of us are not. This is genuinely the only context where I think our parents telling us that we can achieve anything we want might actually be a good thing, because at least it gives us that tiny sliver of hope. And if we keep on being this scared, it's gonna have to make do. Thank you for watching this very doom and gloom video. I hope that ultimately the message you get from this is a positive one, that if we can do things if we're just less scared or something. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon, or subscribe to that, maybe buying my short story collection or some of my merchandise. And in that spirit, maybe we should all try to get rid of some of this excess fear that we have and put in confidence. Throw off our old baggage and, you know, find a way forward. Because, you know, we're gonna need it. And see you around, cunts.